Well, the lesser spotted Prince George has been a source of some bewilderment to the press because we haven't actually seen him in public that much at all. Yes, he was taken to Australia and New Zealand and he was seen quite a lot down under. But in Britain, actually, he's only made 2 major public appearances and both of them have been at the Lindo Wing.
They tried to silence him, but Prince George just exposed a royal secret that has the palace in absolute chaos. At only 11 years old, the future king shattered every rule to reveal what they've been hiding from the world. His own family never saw this coming. What he said next left millions speechless and has experts questioning everything about the monarchy's future. This isn't just another royal moment. This is the beginning of something the crown may never recover from.
The feeling I felt, but it was, the thing is, I think I was on such a high anyway, and so was Catherine, about George, that really we were happy to show him off to whoever wanted to see him. As any new parent knows, you're only too happy to show off your new child, and
What George revealed will shake you to your core, and by the end, you'll understand why they desperately wanted to keep him quiet. Prince George of Wales has recently captured global attention in a way that few expected from the usually reserved young royal. At just 11 years old, the future king made a public statement that sent ripples through media outlets worldwide and sparked conversations about the changing face of the British monarchy. For a child who has spent most of his life carefully shielded from the spotlight, this moment marked a significant departure from the norm. To understand why this matters, we need to consider what it means to grow up as Prince George. Born on July 22, 2013, he entered the world already carrying the weight of expectation. As the eldest child of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, George became third in line to the British throne the moment he took his first breath. This wasn't just another royal birth, it represented the future of an institution that has stood for over 1,000 years, and from day one, the world has been watching. The circumstances of his birth were steeped in tradition. He was born at St. Mary's Hospital in London, the same place where his father had been born decades earlier. When William and Catherine emerged from the hospital with their newborn son, cameras from around the globe captured the moment. It was a scene that millions watched, and it set the tone for a life that would forever be lived under public scrutiny. Yet even then, his parents were determined to do things differently. Unlike previous generations of royals who were raised behind palace walls with strict protocols governing every aspect of their lives, George's upbringing has been notably more grounded. His parents have worked hard to give him and his siblings, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, something approaching a normal childhood. They attend school like other children. They play sports. They have playdates with friends outside the royal circle. These might seem like ordinary activities, but for a future monarch, they represent a radical shift in how royals are prepared for their roles. The young prince started his education at Westacre Montessori School Nursery in Norfolk before moving to Thomas's Battersea in London. More recently, he enrolled at Lambrook School in Berkshire, close to the family's home at Adelaide Cottage. The choice of schools reflects his parents' desire to provide a well-rounded education that goes beyond the confines of royal tutoring. At Lambrook, George has access to a wide range of academic subjects and extracurricular activities, from sports to arts to outdoor education. Despite these efforts to maintain normalcy, there's no escaping the reality of who George is and what his future holds. From an early age, he has been gradually introduced to royal duties. His first appearance on the Buckingham Palace balcony came in 2015 during the Trooping the Colour ceremony, an annual celebration of the monarch's official birthday. Since then, he has joined his parents at various official events, including royal tours, sporting events, and state occasions. Each appearance serves as a learning experience, a chance for him to observe and understand the responsibilities that will one day be his. Those who have observed George at public events often comment on his demeanor. He appears thoughtful and composed, qualities that seem beyond his years. There's a seriousness to him that suggests an awareness of his position, even as he navigates the typical challenges of childhood and early adolescence. He has been described as having inherited his father's reserved nature, while also displaying his mother's warmth and grace. During public appearances, he often looks contemplative, taking in his surroundings with careful attention. His interests reflect those of many boys his age. He enjoys football and rugby, sports that his father has actively encouraged. Prince William, who serves as president of the Football Association, has taken George to professional matches, fostering a love for the game that millions of British people share. Beyond sports, George has shown interest in outdoor activities and nature, often spending time exploring with his family. These pursuits aren't just hobbies, they represent moments when he can simply be a child, free from the formality and expectations that come with his title. Yet the question has always lingered in the background. What kind of king will George become? It's a question that historians, royal commentators, and the public have pondered since his birth. Will he follow in the footsteps of his ancestors, maintaining the traditions and protocols that have defined the monarchy for generations? Or will he represent something new, a modern approach that reflects the values of his generation? For most of his life, George has remained largely silent in public settings. Royal children are typically seen, but not heard, making carefully choreographed appearances where they wave politely to crowds but rarely speak. This approach protects them from media scrutiny while allowing them to grow up with some degree of privacy. It also maintains the mystique of the monarchy, keeping royal figures at a dignified distance from everyday life. This silence has been particularly notable with George. Unlike some royals who have been more vocal from a young age, he has kept his thoughts and feelings largely private. When he does appear in public, he follows protocol, standing where he's supposed to stand, waving when appropriate, but rarely offering any insight into what he's thinking or feeling. This reserve has made him something of an enigma, a young prince whose personality and views remain mostly unknown to the outside world. That's what made his recent statements so unexpected. After years of careful silence, George spoke up about something that mattered to him. The circumstances surrounding this moment have generated intense interest and speculation. What prompted this departure from the usual royal approach? What gave him the confidence to break from protocol and share his thoughts publicly? And perhaps most importantly, what does this tell us about the kind of leader he might become? The timing of his statement is also significant. We're living in an era where young people around the world are increasingly vocal about issues that affect their future. From climate activism to social justice movements, younger generations are demanding to be heard and taken seriously. They're challenging established institutions and calling for change. In this context, a young royal speaking out represents more than just a personal choice. It signals a potential shift in how the monarchy engages with contemporary issues. For George, this moment represents a turning point. He's no longer just the quiet boy standing beside his parents at official events. He's emerging as someone with his own voice and perspective, someone who may bring fresh ideas to an ancient institution. Whether this was a carefully planned statement or a spontaneous expression of genuine feeling, it has captured the world's attention and sparked important conversations about the future of the British royal family. Understanding Prince George's journey requires looking closely at his formative years and the careful balance his parents have struck between royal duty and childhood normalcy. From the moment he could walk, George has been aware that his life would be different from other children, though the full weight of that difference has been revealed to him gradually over time. His early years were spent primarily away from the intense media glare that follows senior royals. The family's time at Anmer Hall, their country residence in Norfolk, provided a refuge where George could play outdoors, explore nature, and simply be a child without constant observation. This period was crucial in establishing a foundation of stability and security that his parents hoped would sustain him through the increasingly public life that lay ahead. When George began attending school, it marked another step in his journey toward understanding his unique position. At Westacre Montessori School, he mixed with other children in a relatively protected environment. Teachers and staff were carefully briefed on maintaining his privacy while treating him as they would any other student. This approach continued when he moved to Thomas's Battersea, a private school in London known for its academic excellence and diverse student body. The school's motto, "Be kind," reflected values that his parents wanted to instill in him, emphasizing empathy and consideration for others, regardless of background or status. During his time at Thomas's Battersea, George participated in regular school activities. He took part in nativity plays, sports days, and school trips. His parents attended parent-teacher meetings and school events, just like other families, though always with security considerations in mind. This normalcy was intentional, designed to give George a sense of belonging beyond his royal identity. His classmates knew who he was, of course, but the school environment encouraged them to see him first as a fellow student and friend. The transition to Lambrook School in Berkshire came as the family relocated to Adelaide Cottage in Windsor. This move brought them closer to Queen Elizabeth II during her final years and placed them in a more central location for royal duties. Lambrook offered George and his siblings an education that combined academic rigor with extensive opportunities for sports, music, and outdoor learning. The school's emphasis on developing well-rounded individuals aligned perfectly with William and Catherine's vision for their children's upbringing. Throughout these school years, George has been developing interests and hobbies that reveal his personality. His love for football is well documented, with numerous photos showing him attending matches with his father. He supports Aston Villa, a choice that reflects his own preference rather than simply following his father's allegiances. This seemingly small detail matters because it demonstrates that he's encouraged to form his own opinions and make his own choices, even in matters as trivial as sports team loyalty. Rugby has also captured his interest, and he's been spotted playing the sport at school. The physical nature of rugby, combined with its emphasis on teamwork and respect for opponents, makes it a popular choice among British schoolchildren. For George, participating in team sports provides valuable lessons about cooperation, handling both victory and defeat gracefully, and working with others toward a common goal. These are skills that will serve him well in his future role. Beyond organized sports, George has shown a keen interest in the natural world. He's been photographed on family walks, exploring beaches, and engaging with wildlife. This connection to nature isn't accidental. Both his father and grandfather, King Charles III, are passionate environmentalists who have spent decades advocating for conservation and sustainable practices. Growing up surrounded by this ethos has clearly influenced George's own developing worldview. His public appearances have gradually increased in frequency and significance as he's grown older. Each outing serves as a lesson in royal protocol and public engagement. At trooping, the colour ceremonies, he's learned to stand at attention during military displays and wave to crowds with appropriate enthusiasm, but not excessive exuberance. During royal tours, he's observed how his parents interact with dignitaries and ordinary citizens alike, noting the subtle shifts in tone and manner required for different situations. One particularly significant moment came during the late Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee celebrations in 2022. George appeared in multiple events throughout the long weekend of celebrations, marking 70 years of his great-grandmother's reign. He was seen on the Buckingham Palace balcony, at church services, and at the Platinum Jubilee pageant. These appearances showed a maturing young royal who was beginning to understand the ceremonial aspects of his position. The Jubilee also provided him with a close-up view of how the monarchy brings people together in celebration of shared history and national identity. The funeral of Queen Elizabeth I in September 2022 was another formative experience. At just 9 years old, George walked in the funeral procession and attended the service at Westminster Abbey. This solemn occasion required him to demonstrate composure and dignity during an emotionally difficult time. The decision to include him in such a significant state event reflected his parents' belief that he was ready to take on more substantial responsibilities, even in challenging circumstances. Throughout all these experiences, those close to the family report that George has maintained a remarkably level-headed attitude. He understands that he's different from his classmates, but he doesn't seem to let this knowledge define him entirely. He has friends outside the royal circle, children he's met through school and through his parents' connections. These friendships provide him with perspectives beyond the palace walls and help him understand how most people actually live. His relationship with his siblings also plays a crucial role in his development. As the eldest, he naturally takes on a protective role with Charlotte and Louis. They're often photographed together at events, and body language experts note the care George shows toward his younger brother and sister. This sibling dynamic teaches him about responsibility, patience, and the importance of family bonds. It also ensures he has companions who truly understand the unique pressures of royal life, even if their positions in the line of succession mean they'll face different expectations. The year leading up to his recent public statement saw George taking on increasingly visible roles. He served as a page of honor at his grandfather's coronation in May 2023, a position of considerable responsibility. Pages of honor carry the monarch's robes during the ceremony, walking in procession through Westminster Abbey before thousands of guests and millions watching worldwide. For George, this role represented a significant step forward in his royal journey. He was no longer just observing from the sidelines, but actively participating in a historic state occasion. Reports from those who witnessed the coronation preparations describe George as taking his duties seriously. He attended rehearsals, practiced the precise movements required, and asked questions about the significance of various ceremonial elements. This curiosity and conscientiousness suggest a young person who wants to understand not just what he needs to do, but why it matters. It's an approach that speaks to a deeper engagement with his role than simply going through the motions. His education has also expanded beyond the classroom to include informal lessons about royal history and constitutional matters. While specific details of these discussions remain private, it's understood that George receives age-appropriate explanations about the monarchy's role in British society, the relationship between the crown and government, and the responsibilities that come with his position. These conversations help him gradually build an understanding of the complex institution he will one day lead. As George approached his 11th birthday, observers noted a shift in his public demeanor. He appeared more confident, more willing to make eye contact with crowds, and more comfortable in formal settings. This growing confidence didn't manifest as cockiness or entitlement, but rather as a quiet self-assurance. He seemed to be finding his footing, developing a sense of who he is within the constraints and opportunities his position provides. The moment that captured global attention came during an event focused on environmental conservation, a cause that has deep roots in the royal family. Standing alongside his parents at a gathering dedicated to wildlife protection and environmental awareness, Prince George did something unexpected. He spoke publicly about an issue that clearly mattered to him, breaking from the usual pattern of remaining silent during official appearances. His words were simple but carried significant weight. He expressed concern about the state of the planet and the responsibility everyone shares in protecting it for future generations. The exact phrasing that resonated most with listeners was his question about who would take care of the Earth if current generations failed to act. For someone so young to articulate this concern publicly represented a departure from typical royal protocol, where children are carefully kept away from potentially controversial topics. The context of this statement matters enormously. Environmental issues have become increasingly central to public discourse, particularly among younger generations, who will inherit the consequences of today's decisions. Climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, and habitat destruction are topics that dominate news cycles and fuel activism worldwide. For a future monarch to weigh in on these issues, even as a child, signals an awareness of the world's pressing challenges and a willingness to use his platform to address them. This wasn't George's first exposure to environmental causes. His great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, spoke about environmental concerns in various addresses throughout her reign, though always carefully avoiding partisan political stances. His grandfather, King Charles III, has been one of the most vocal advocates for environmental protection among world leaders, speaking about climate change and sustainability for over 5 decades. Charles faced criticism early in his advocacy, with some suggesting that royals should remain silent on such matters, but he persisted in his belief that environmental stewardship was too important to ignore. Prince William has followed in his father's footsteps, launching the Earthshot Prize in 2020, an ambitious environmental award program designed to find and scale solutions to the planet's greatest challenges. William has spoken passionately about his desire to repair the planet for his children's generation, making environmental protection a central focus of his public work. Growing up surrounded by this commitment to conservation, George has been immersed in discussions about environmental responsibility from an early age. His statement, therefore, didn't emerge from nowhere. It reflected values that have been carefully cultivated within his family over multiple generations. What made it remarkable was not the sentiment itself, which aligned perfectly with his family's public positions, but rather the fact that he chose to express it himself. This wasn't his father speaking on his behalf, or a carefully crafted message delivered through official channels. This was George, in his own voice, sharing his own concerns. The influence of his parents on this moment cannot be understated. Prince William and Catherine have approached parenting with a philosophy that blends traditional royal values with contemporary ideas about child development and emotional well-being. They've been open about the importance of mental health, the value of expressing feelings, and the need for children to develop their own identities, even within the constraints of royal life. William's own childhood experiences shaped his approach to fatherhood. Losing his mother, Princess Diana, at age 15 was a trauma that profoundly affected him. Diana had been unconventional in her approach to royal motherhood, taking William and his brother Harry to homeless shelters, hospitals, and other places where they could see firsthand how most people lived. She wanted them to understand that their privilege came with responsibility, and that empathy for others should guide their actions. William has carried these lessons forward, ensuring his own children understand the world beyond palace walls. Catherine's influence has been equally significant. Coming from a non-royal background, she brings a perspective shaped by a more ordinary upbringing. Her parents built a successful business through hard work and determination, values they instilled in their daughter. When Catherine married into the royal family, she didn't abandon these values, but rather brought them with her, creating a home environment that prioritizes emotional openness and personal growth alongside royal duty. Together, William and Catherine have created a family dynamic that encourages their children to think independently and express themselves appropriately. They've spoken publicly about the importance of mental health and emotional literacy, launching initiatives that encourage people to talk about their feelings and seek support when needed. This openness extends to their own children, whom they've encouraged to share their thoughts and concerns, rather than suppressing them in service of maintaining a stiff upper lip. The decision to allow George to speak publicly about environmental concerns likely involved considerable discussion. Royal communications teams typically plan every public appearance and statement meticulously, considering potential reactions and implications. The fact that George was permitted, or perhaps even encouraged, to share his views suggests a deliberate choice by his parents to give him a voice in matters that affect his generation. This approach represents a significant evolution in how young royals are introduced to public life. Previous generations of royal children were largely silent until well into adulthood, their personalities and views carefully concealed behind formal protocol. The current generation, by contrast, is being raised with more freedom to express themselves, albeit still within carefully managed boundaries. This shift reflects broader changes in society, where children are increasingly recognized as individuals with valid perspectives, rather than simply miniature adults in training. George's statement also reflects the education he's receiving, both formal and informal. At Lambrook School, he's learning about environmental science, geography, and the interconnected systems that sustain life on Earth. These aren't abstract concepts, but pressing realities that his generation will need to address. His teachers report that he asks thoughtful questions and shows genuine interest in understanding complex issues. This intellectual curiosity, combined with the values reinforced at home, has clearly shaped his worldview. The young prince has also had opportunities to see conservation work firsthand. He accompanied his parents on visits to wildlife reserves, met with conservationists and scientists, and learned about various initiatives aimed at protecting endangered species and habitat. These experiences have given him concrete examples of both the challenges facing the natural world and the solutions being developed to address them. For a child who loves spending time outdoors and has shown interest in animals and nature, these lessons have particular resonance. His comfort in speaking publicly about these concerns also reflects the supportive environment his parents have created. Children who feel secure and valued are more likely to express their thoughts and advocate for causes they care about. George's willingness to speak up suggests that he's been raised in an atmosphere where his voice is heard and respected, where asking questions is encouraged, and where standing up for what matters is seen as admirable rather than inappropriate. The substance of his message resonated because it came across as genuinely felt rather than scripted. While undoubtedly his parents and their advisors were aware of what he planned to say, the sentiment appeared to be his own. This authenticity is precisely what made the moment so powerful. It wasn't a carefully crafted political statement designed to advance a particular agenda. It was a child expressing concern about the world he's inheriting, using his unique platform to amplify a message that millions share, but few have the opportunity to broadcast so widely. The timing of his statement also matters. As world leaders continue debating climate policy and environmental regulations, having a future head of state express concern about planetary stewardship adds a unique dimension to the conversation. George won't assume the throne for many decades, but when he does, he'll be leading a nation that will be grappling with the long-term consequences of decisions being made today. His early engagement with these issues suggests a future monarch who will take environmental responsibility seriously. The reaction to Prince George's environmental statement was swift and far-reaching, demonstrating the immense influence even a young member of the royal family can wield. Within hours of his comments, social media platforms lit up with responses from people across the political spectrum, geographic boundaries, and generational divides. The speed and intensity of the reaction highlighted both the public's fascination with the young prince and the contentious nature of environmental discourse in contemporary society. Supporters of George's statement praised him for using his platform to address what they consider one of the most critical issues facing humanity. Environmental activists and organizations quickly shared his words, seeing them as validation of their efforts and a powerful example of youth engagement with climate and conservation issues. Many drew parallels between George and other young environmental advocates who have emerged in recent years, viewing his statement as part of a broader generational awakening to environmental challenges. Prominent figures in the environmental movement expressed their approval. Some noted that having someone in George's position speak about these concerns could help reach audiences that might dismiss similar messages from traditional activists. The royal family's unique position, straddling the line between public service and national symbolism, gives their words a different kind of weight than those of politicians or campaigners. For environmental advocates, George's statement represented an opportunity to bring their message to people who might otherwise tune it out. Educational institutions and youth organizations also responded positively, with some incorporating his words into discussions about civic engagement and environmental stewardship. Teachers reported using the moment as a teaching opportunity, asking students to consider how individuals, regardless of their age or position, can contribute to addressing global challenges. The fact that someone so young felt empowered to speak on such an important topic became a lesson in itself about the value of youth voices in public discourse. However, not all reactions were positive. Critics emerged from various quarters, raising concerns about the appropriateness of a young royal engaging with what many consider political issues. The British monarchy has long maintained a position of political neutrality, refraining from taking sides in partisan debates or advocating for specific policies. This neutrality is considered essential to the monarchy's role as a unifying national symbol that transcends political divisions. Some constitutional experts and royal historians expressed concern that George's statement, however well-intentioned, risked compromising this neutrality. They argued that environmental policy, despite widespread agreement on the importance of conservation, remains a politically contested area, with significant disagreements about the best approaches and necessary trade-offs. By wading into this territory, even with seemingly innocuous statements about caring for the planet, the young prince might be setting a precedent that could prove problematic as he grows older and takes on more substantial royal responsibilities. Conservative commentators, particularly those skeptical of aggressive climate policies or wary of what they see as environmental alarmism, questioned whether George was truly expressing his own views or simply repeating messages he'd been taught by parents and advisors with their own agendas. They suggested that using a child to advance environmental causes was manipulative, putting him in a position where he might face criticism for views he didn't fully understand or independently develop. Some argued that children, even royal children destined for leadership, should be protected from political controversy rather than thrust into it. Other critics focused on what they perceived as hypocrisy. They pointed to the royal family's use of private jets, multiple residences, and other trappings of wealth and privilege that have environmental costs. While supporters countered that the family has taken steps to reduce their carbon footprint and that their platform allows them to drive larger systemic change, critics maintained that the disconnect between lifestyle and message undermined George's credibility. This line of criticism reflects broader tensions in environmental discourse about who has standing to advocate for change and whether personal behavior must perfectly align with professed values. Media coverage of the statement and subsequent reactions varied considerably depending on the outlet's editorial perspective. Some newspapers and broadcasters portrayed George as a thoughtful young leader, showing maturity beyond his years. They highlighted the sincerity of his concern and the potential for his engagement to inspire others, particularly young people. to take environmental issues seriously. Feature articles explored how his upbringing and family values had shaped his worldview, presenting a sympathetic portrait of a prince coming into his own. Other media outlets took a more skeptical approach, questioning the timing and orchestration of the statement. They analyzed whether this was part of a calculated effort by the royal family to remain relevant by aligning themselves with causes popular among younger generations. Some suggested that the monarchy, facing questions about its place in modern British society, was using environmental advocacy as a way to demonstrate continued value and purpose. In this interpretation, George's statement was less about his personal convictions and more about institutional positioning. International reactions added another layer of complexity. In countries where environmental concerns rank high on the public agenda, George's words were generally well received. European media, for instance, largely portrayed the moment positively, viewing it as evidence of thoughtful leadership emerging in the next generation of British royals. In regions where climate skepticism runs stronger, or where suspicion of elite institutions prevails, reactions were more mixed or outright negative. The sustained media attention, lasting several news cycles rather than fading quickly, demonstrated George's emerging influence. Television programs devoted segments to analyzing his statement and what it might mean for the future of the monarchy. Magazine covers featured his image alongside headlines about young leadership and generational change. Opinion columnists weighed in with perspectives ranging from enthusiastic support to stern warnings about the dangers of politicizing the crown. Social media proved particularly volatile, with hashtags related to George trending for days. Supporters created and shared graphics featuring his words overlaid on nature imagery, treating his statement as an inspirational message. Critics created their own memes and commentary, some mocking what they saw as privileged naivety, others expressing genuine concern about constitutional implications. The intensity of online debate reflected the polarized nature of contemporary discourse, where even relatively uncontroversial statements can become flashpoints for broader cultural and political conflicts. The royal family's response to this controversy has been measured. Official channels have neither amplified George's statement nor backed away from it. This careful neutrality reflects the delicate balance the family must maintain. They want to support George's development as a thoughtful individual, capable of engaging with important issues, but they also need to protect both him and the institution from becoming too entangled in divisive political debates. Behind the scenes, royal advisors have reportedly been considering how to manage George's public profile as he grows older. This statement has forced conversations about the appropriate level of public engagement for a future monarch during their formative years. Some argue for maintaining traditional discretion, keeping George largely out of the public eye until he's older and better equipped to handle scrutiny. Others contend that in an era of social media and instant global communication, trying to maintain the old model of royal inscrutability is neither possible nor desirable. The incident has also sparked broader discussions about the monarchy's role in addressing contemporary challenges. Supporters of a more activist royal family argue that remaining silent on critical issues makes the institution seem out of touch and irrelevant. They point to the success of initiatives like William's Earthshot Prize as evidence that royals can make meaningful contributions to solving global problems without overstepping constitutional boundaries. Critics maintain that the monarchy's strength lies precisely in its ability to serve as a neutral, unifying presence, and that this strength is undermined when royals take positions on contentious issues, even seemingly uncontroversial ones. Looking ahead, George's statement may be remembered as a pivotal moment in the evolution of the modern monarchy. It demonstrated that the next generation of royals is being raised with different expectations about public engagement and social responsibility. Whether this represents a positive evolution or a concerning departure from tradition remains a matter of debate. What seems clear is that George, still just a child, has already made his mark on public consciousness in a way that will shape perceptions of him for years to come. The conversations his statement sparked continue to unfold. Discussions about youth activism, royal neutrality, environmental policy, and generational change intersect in complex ways that resist simple conclusions. George himself, meanwhile, continues his education and upbringing, presumably aware of the attention his words generated, but protected, to whatever extent possible, from the full weight of public scrutiny. His parents face the ongoing challenge of preparing him for his future role, while allowing him the space to grow and develop as an individual. As the initial furor subsides, the lasting impact of this moment remains to be seen. Will George continue to speak publicly on issues that matter to him? Or will this prove to be an isolated incident? How will public expectations of him evolve as he matures? And what does his willingness to engage with environmental concerns tell us about the kind of monarch he might eventually become? These questions don't have immediate answers, but they've become part of the ongoing conversation about the future of the British royal family and its place in an increasingly complex world.